Cultural appropriation is a highly debated topic that raises questions about the crossing of cultural boundaries and the implications it has on various communities. On one hand, proponents argue that cultural borrowing can foster diversity and help in appreciating different cultures. On the other hand, opponents argue that cultural appropriation can perpetuate stereotypes and disrespect traditions. This debate often revolves around issues such as fashion, music, art, and language, where elements from one culture are adopted by individuals from another culture. Through a thorough examination of both perspectives, we can gain a better understanding of the complex nature of this controversial issue. Those in favor of cultural appropriation argue that it can encourage a vibrant and diverse cultural fusion. They believe that borrowing elements from different cultures promotes a harmonious blend of traditions and can lead to the creation of unique and beautiful art, fashion, and music. Cultural exchange, they argue, is necessary for a globalized society where people from different backgrounds can learn from and appreciate each other's cultures. Advocates often emphasize the positive aspects of cultural appropriation, such as the spread of diverse cuisines, the fusion of musical genres, and the blending of fashion styles. They argue that cultural borrowing is a form of creative expression that should be celebrated rather than criticized. Opponents of cultural appropriation, however, view the adoption of elements from another culture as a form of cultural theft. They argue that cultural appropriation often occurs in a power dynamic where dominant cultures adopt and commodify aspects of marginalized cultures without giving credit or understanding the historical and cultural significance behind them. This can lead to the erasure of the cultural context, perpetuation of stereotypes, and disrespect towards the communities from which these elements are borrowed. Detractors argue that cultural appropriation reinforces unequal power structures and profits from the cultural heritage of marginalized groups without providing with due recognition or respect. One of the key arguments against cultural appropriation is the objectification of cultural traditions. Critics argue that when elements such as religious symbols, traditional garments, or sacred practices are taken out of their original context, they lose their meaning and become trivialized. Festivals like Halloween, where individuals sometimes appropriate elements of indigenous cultures as costumes, are often criticized for perpetuating stereotypes, reducing cultural practices to mere fashion statements. Opponents maintain that cultural traditions should be respected, and that engaging in cultural borrowing without the necessary understanding and appreciation are disrespectful and oppressive. Proponents of cultural appropriation argue that cultural borrowing can actually lead to appreciation and education. They argue that by incorporating elements from different cultures into mainstream society, it becomes an opportunity for people to learn about and understand the cultures. For example, individuals who wear traditional clothing from another culture may start conversations about the origin and meaning behind those garments. This, in turn, can lead to a deeper understanding and appreciation of diverse cultural heritages. They assert that cultural exchange can be a positive force that fosters empathy, respect, and cross-cultural communication. In response to the criticism of cultural appropriation, there have been calls for cultural appreciation instead. The concept of cultural appreciation entails actively learning about a culture, understanding its history, and showing respect to its traditions without appropriating or commodifying them. Supporters of cultural appreciation argue that this approach ensures the preservation of authenticity, recognizes the contributions of marginalized communities, encourages a more equitable exchange of cultural knowledge. By appreciating cultures rather than appropriating them, individuals can build genuine connections and foster an environment of mutual respect and understanding. It is essential to recognize that the debate surrounding cultural appropriation is complex and does not have a straightforward answer. Both sides present valid arguments that reflect different values and perspectives. While some instances of cultural borrowing undoubtedly perpetuate harmful stereotypes and disrespect cultural traditions, other instances can promote diversity, cross-cultural understanding, and appreciation. It is crucial to approach this topic with sensitivity and open-mindedness, considering the power dynamics at play and the need for consent, respect, and awareness, engaging with elements from different cultures.